Hello, and welcome to Cut and Splice. This is Matt speaking, and I'm here with our co-hosts.
This is Jason.
This is Gil.
And this time around, we will be talking about Michael Haneke's 1997 film Funny Games. It is originally an Austrian film. It was later adapted 10 years later by the same director as an American film starring Naomi Watts and Tim Roth. And they are shot-for-shot remakes, by the way. But fundamentally, the plot is a family of three, very affluent, very educated, basically just going on holiday for what they assume is going to be 2 weeks of boating, golfing, and fun, are met by two young men who turn out to be psychopaths and hold them hostage for a night and proceed to psychologically, pathologically, and brutally torture them. That's basically the overview. Since I have some of my strong opinions, I'm just going to kick it over to the other two guys to give their initial thoughts.
It's probably important to mention that even though you've seen both of them, that we're primarily talking about the Austrian version because while I was hoping to see both versions before we had a chance to talk about them, that didn't really work out.
Yeah, and just as a preface, like if I do for some reason make a comment about the remake, it's going to be something about the technical side. I can't stress enough, this is a shot-for-shot remake. Like
Right.
But anyway, yeah, you guys go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, and I think I'm personally happy about the fact that we watched this one. I was telling Jason because I felt like the language distance, might distance us from the action somewhat, or will make us focus on the action and the structure more than the particular or the language, the dialogue. Also, and we can get more into it in the second half with the spoilers, but I feel like Naomi Watts and stuff I get like a Mulholland Drive vibe there, I'm sure, with her performance, but I'm imagining how horrible it probably was for her to make that movie, and how stressful it was, and I feel like and I saw that in Mulholland Drive, so I kind of feel like it was nice to see just different performances from different actors. And the one thing that really annoyed me about the movie is that it just drove me nuts that one of the dudes just looks so much like Pete Sampras. I just really, I just could not.
No, he does. I didn't think about it until you said it, but he does.
That bothered me the whole movie. Like, why is Pete Sampras torturing people? But that aside, yeah. But I guess like one last question that I would have as far as the comparison. So I wasn't Michael Pete or something was in the remake.
Yeah.
No, Michael Pitt. Yeah.
Pitt. Sorry, and he plays
Paul.
Which one of the two does he play?
The dominant of the two.
The dominant of the two. It's funny because I think he looks more like the other one. I guess in the remake they're both kind of blondes, like dirty blondes.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So that's that.
That's funny.
But yeah, I guess we should go. So I mean, Matt, you should start. Just I know that you have very strong feelings about it, so maybe you should start, and we can take it from there. As far as
I actually agree. I think Matt should start simply because before any of us saw this, he gave us his pretty dramatic feelings about this movie. So it might be best for the if anyone ever listens to this audience to to get the same experience.
Okay, so I saw this movie. I saw the remake first, and I saw it with all of our mutual friend Andrew at a little indie theater, and I had already seen Michael Haneke's film Cachet, and it was like, okay, that's pretty good. Let's go see Funny Games. And I go in and I watch the movie, and all I could think was, this director hates me, like me personally as a human being. Like this movie is something that it's like a catch-22 that he made for himself, in that if I hate it, I'm a good person because I hate seeing innocent people needlessly tortured and brutally murdered for entertainment purposes. And if I like it, I feel like the director is pointing a finger and judging me for enjoying watching what he put on the screen. So basically, I felt like the entire movie was a middle finger to the audience that was either saying, yeah, you like that, you sick son of a bitch. Whereas my brain was going, no, I don't like this. I don't know what you're expecting of me. And then the other middle finger was to the audience that did like it, in that, well, yeah, you like that, you sick son of a bitch, don't you? And so I went home and I looked it up, and I saw, oh, okay, well, this is a remake. Maybe the original was better. Maybe, and trying to remember the chronology, if I saw, I saw The Lives of Others before I saw Funny Games, and the lead actor, the late, great, forgive any German-speaking friends who might ever hear this, Ulrich Mühl was the lead actor in The Lives of Others, and I saw that he was the lead in the original Funny Games. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and going to watch the original and see if there was just something lost in translation. And surely enough, it's a shot-for-shot remake, pretty much the same dialogue, maybe with some things lost in translation, a few nuts and bolts there, but it's the same movie, just done with, the remake was done with Darius Kanji as the cinematographer, so it looked better. Otherwise, it's the same damn movie. And I mean, I was just kind of flabbergasted that kind of an internationally respected filmmaker in Michael Haneke, who's made, Cachet, The White Ribbon, Amour. Both of those came after Funny Games. Like, how does this guy not only make this movie, but make it twice without changing anything? Honestly, if I'm going to okay, so the thing is, a lot of people with whom I work are people who work in the horror space, and most of my friends from film school who are really into horror movies love this movie. They love it. Like, it's a 10 out of 10 for them. And for me, I'll save my rating for the end, but I hated it. I hated it. I hated everything about it. I mean, I hated the fact that anybody thought that anybody would actually like it. I hated that. I mean, I would rather watch Hostel 3 than this movie again. And that's why I recommended that we watch it, because we can actually explore how a talented filmmaker can make such a piece of dreck. Anyway, so that's more else. Michael Haneke, if you ever listen to this, no, I don't want to work with you. But anyway.
Wow. I have to admit, Matt, in case you didn't hear this yet, I heard a tiny little bit of a spoiler from Gil earlier this week that that he might have some slightly different views on this. So I'd love to hear what he had to say about it.
All right.
Oh, so you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. No, it's tough. the first sign that I had when I was watching it that this might be interesting is, and for one thing, I'll say I really wanted to dislike this movie. I really, because Matt said that he saw both and they're so bad. I said like I don't want to be the anti-Matt guy. I'm gonna end up being like the left or actually the right. It's basically like the politics in the U.S. now is like that you're always anti the other side basically. And I didn't want to be that way because it's often the case, but I think it's mostly just different tastes, and it's just that me and Matt have such strong impressions of things. That's why when we're not aligned, which sometimes we are, it just feels stronger than say the difference that I would have with Jason on certain movies. But the first hint that I had was the Criterion Collection thing came up. And I was like, wait a second. I mean, like, these are like really sophisticated movie fans. Why are they like putting this on the Criterion Collection? It's like, okay.
I did see that as well, and I went, whoa.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, I was like checking out because I like to be, even though I shouldn't do this when I'm watching movies at home, I get on IMDb while the movie is going, part of the movie, and I check things like what it was shot on or certain things. And sometimes I'll even glance at reviews and stuff. And yeah, and I saw that it varied, that some people actually, some reviewers did have Matt's opinion. And then some other ones just really thought it was a sophisticated movie. So I was looking for both. I was just trying to be very, very like objective. And I gotta admit, the first 20, 30 minutes or so were pretty frustrating because I am not a horror fan. So that's for one. So you definitely know I'm not going to give it a 10. So I'm not a horror fan, and I really don't enjoy people getting tortured. Some horror movies are basically that. It's really that's why I really don't. That's what I don't get about horror. The only horror I like is suspenseful, or there's something more to it, like underneath. And as the movie went on, and we'll get into it in the spoiler-filled second half of the discussion, I realized like, oh boy, this is really sophisticated, smart filmmaking. So, because I saw some tricks, like even in the beginning, the first few shots, I already saw that he was doing some stuff. But there was like midway through the movie, there were some really like nice twists. And then I was like, wait a second, this is not just some abusive fuck you to the audience, you're sick people. There's something going on here. So I became even more and more interested and attentive. And towards the end, there's a few more tricks towards the end that are happening that we can get to. And I don't know, I'm still on the fence as far as whether I would recommend this movie for people to watch. I would say if you're a horror fan, you could probably watch it and enjoy it. I don't know if you'll get everything that's going on there thematically, but it's got suspense to it. It's got some interesting things. And if you're a casual movie watcher, yes, this is not for you. But if you're a movie buff, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you're a movie buff and you like to keep close attention to detail, there's something to this. As long as you can stomach the abuse, the one last thing I would say is, like, as I was watching it, I was really frustrated with it. No, actually, I'll save this for the second half. Yeah, because this is like getting into the more plot and stuff that's later on. So I'll get to it. But yeah, I want to see what Jason thinks. Overall view of it.
I didn't really care for it that much. I definitely think it was an interesting thing he was trying to do, but I think that what's the guy's name again? Haneke or something like that. Whatever. Haneke. I think.
All right, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. If I had to boil it down, I would say that overall, I went into this movie with certain expectations that it's nobody's fault. It's just having been Matt's friend and having had, countless hours and hours of conversations about movies inevitably I've probably heard Matt say something similar to what you just heard him say at least 7 times. And so I went into this expecting this to be like complete dreck. And I don't think I don't think that I feel as strongly as Matt does that it's like that bad. It is bad though. And what I would say, bottom line, is that I think that the director was trying to do something very sophisticated, and I don't think it succeeded. That's my opinion. I think it's really pretentious. I feel very similarly to what Matt said about the Catch-22, but I kind of would phrase it differently than what he did. I mean, clearly, I think it's pretty clear, at least, that the director is trying to make a comment about like violence and how we as a society like deal with violence and stuff like that. And I think, like what Matt said, in a way, he's kind of daring you to enjoy the movie. And I think that it's like what Matt said, it's like a catch-22. If you did enjoy it in a traditional movie viewing experience sort of way, then that kind of makes you sick. And if you didn't enjoy it, the catch-22 part is that all the pretentious filmmakers are going to be like, well, you just didn't get it. And I don't think that's the case. I think he just failed. and I don't think it's like it's far off. It's pretty damn close. It's just, I don't think it really works. And I can go into more detail as to why, but that's more or less how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I have a question about your reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because you say that, don't you feel there's a lot of movies that the fact that they show something doesn't mean they condone it per se. It's
No,
just
of
that
course
they're
not.
presenting it to be essentially absorbed and make of it what you will. But it's not as if he condones it. I don't think there's anything overtly that he's doing where he's yeah, you like it, bitch. Not in that sense. We can talk about specific lines in the movie and things like that, and some of the tricks that are cinematic tricks that are used. But I personally don't think that this movie condones the violence or glorifies it for that matter. I don't think that it does.
Well, I mean, I'm the first person to say that depiction does not equal endorsement. I mean, Requiem for a Dream is the greatest anti-drug movie that you can make, and it has depictions of drug use galore. You can't make an effective anti-drug movie without showing people suffering from their drug use. But I have to admit that a part of this, and usually I'm operating in my prefrontal cortex, but this was a gut reaction to me. First of all, I mean, I do have to admit that I just felt like I was being judged by the filmmaker to begin with. But beyond that, I mean, again, Michael Haneke was never, I don't think that Michael Haneke was ever endeavoring to make either the torture porn fans nor the Stan Brakhage fans or anything in between come into this movie and start chuckling when a good person gets tortured. I think that it was mostly a lot of cheap tropes of violence that are used in movies. And again, this is where you can make an argument for the movie, which is, kind of holding a mirror up to some of the stuff that we take for granted, which we can get into in the next segment. But I felt the entire time like he was torturing me. And as somebody who does think way too much about movies, okay, actually, you know what? I need to save most of this for the second portion.
It's tough not to get into the
We can just talk about it. It's fine. I mean, we don't have. I don't.
No. I mean, we can get there, but let's finish it off. Then as far as recommendation. But go ahead.
Well, actually, yeah. Let me just make a broad statement though.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that bothered me was that he was trying to paint a cheap torture porn movie in a veneer of filmmaking craft and relying on a certain amount of cachet, pun intended, to elevate it from where it was into the, upper echelon of thinking film goers who are going to sit here and analyze it and make something more of it than what it was.
Oh, cachet. I get it.
Okay.
Because of this movie. I mean, I pretty much said that I would really only recommend it for horror fans because it is essentially a horror movie, and sophisticated moviegoers. Yes, because if you watch this movie just on the surface, and you mostly get annoyed by the cinematic devices that we'll get to in the second half, then it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. But if you're interested in that and you want to keep an eye out for the things that happen that also can be annoying, but if you try to understand why they're done, then it kind of shows you how you can take torture porn essentially and make it an art house movie. In a way, it's a way to do it. It's more a more modern way for sure that he's doing it, but it's doable. Whether I would recommend this movie, it's not fun. In spite of the funny in the title, it's not a fun movie to watch, and there's probably many other movies that are worth watching before this one. But since I was obligated to see it for this, I saw value in it. So yeah, I mean, as far as my rating for it, it's really tough because I really wanted to give it a 6 or less, but I gotta, for the sophistication, I have to inch it into a 7. I'm very much on the fence. I think it's a 7 for me, but I understand why other people would rate it much lower because they're looking for something else when they're watching the movie, and I don't know. Maybe it didn't grab them the way it grabbed me, but I'm not endorsing it as like, oh, this is a great watch. I'm just saying that there was enough sophistication there to give me a nice meal of a movie. As a movie fan, as someone that's really interested in the craft and the grammar of cinema, it gave me more than a lot of movies I've watched recently, which is something.
I don't know. I guess I thought it was like it had some moments that I liked. Some like choices, like the certain shots and stuff. I'm actually having trouble remembering them right now. But yeah, I think like I said, and obviously we'll get into this later more, but like I feel like he was going for something, and I don't really feel like he achieved it. And as such, I'd probably say it was like definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. I've seen far worse than that, but maybe like a 3 or something.
Wow,
All right.
that's going down there. Now I'm curious what Matt rated it.
Well, and I have to stress this point. Like, I mean, I've seen movies that are, I can say, are objectively worse than this, like just from a filmmaking standpoint.
Right.
But
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
But they were what they were. Like I would recommend Jingle All the Way over Funny Games to most people.
Jingle All the Way has a couple funny moments.
Yeah, it's a good comedy.
So
pretty terrible ending.
Yeah. Original, I give it a 2. Remake, I give it a 3 because of kanji.
Okay.
Wow, that's crazy. I wonder if I can get that low. If I've ever seen a movie, I just don't see too many bad movies. I wonder if I can ever give a movie below a 5 or a 4. It's got to be a pretty bad movie. But
I could recommend some really bad ones at some point.
yeah, no, maybe I should revise my maybe I should give this movie a 6 and just revise a lot of my ratings, and I should go into the 5s and the 4s and the 3s more often, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's all good. I mean, that's why we have these discussions. It's the fun of it. So we're like 7, 3, and a 4.
Or
Or
7,
2.
3, and
You're a
2.
2 for the original, right, Matt?
Yeah, it was a 2 for the original, a 3 for the remake.
And
But-
Jason is a 3.
A th-
Okay, 2, 3, and a 7. That's a pretty big gap.
yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's bridge that gap.
I mean, I guess if I met somebody and I after speaking to them, I got this feeling that they would really appreciate something about the movie. Yeah, I'd probably recommend it, but I'd probably recommend it with some, some warnings. Like, I don't particularly like it, but based on what you're saying, I think that you might, blah 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 blah. And it's certainly a very interesting, the guy definitely tried something. There's no doubt about that.
If I met a sophomore film school student who was really into Lars von Trier, I would recommend it.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Yes.
What was who was the person? The one
Any sophomore film student who was into
sophomore film student.
Yeah,
Well,
who was into
a
Lars
film
von
student.
Trier.
A film student, I would recommend seeing this because you're trying to study the craft. It's
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but particularly somebody who's really into Lars von Trier.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because his movies are torture too. Sometimes, I mean, purposefully. Sometimes, yeah.
And I mean, Lars von Trier referred to himself as a cinematic masturbator. So I mean that seems cogent.
Yeah, no, he's definitely self-indulgent. There's no question, but he still makes pretty good movies.
I don't want to get sidetracked here, but I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because I've been sitting here as we've been talking. In the back of my brain, I've been trying to think of movies that I really, really didn't like that I hated more than I really, really hated. Like something that would be far worse than this. And I was like, oh man, my experience with Antichrist, that might have been a movie that I really hated. But then again, that movie had a lot going for it that this one doesn't. So I don't know, whatever. Anyway, just throwing that out there.
It's a good one. I wonder if I ever rated that one. That's got to be a 4 at least for me for that one.
That's a bad movie.
It's a really that was a tough movie.
Oh God!
Yeah, I remember meeting you guys out.
Yeah.
Anyway. I give it a 6. I give it a 6. What? I'm telling you, it's pretty rare that I give less than a 6.
All right, you need to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah, I probably do. I remember that one. Did I see it? I think I saw it. Mortal Kombat.
There's a couple of really bad movies in the last 15 years that were considered parodies, but were really bad, like Epic Movie and stuff like that. Those would probably be lower than 6 for you as well.
This is the curse. This is the curse of having IMDb be even a part of our adolescence to early adulthood, where you're constantly rating everything on a 1 to 10 scale, and you don't want to be you don't want to be the ass who's just rating everything a 1, or the fanboy who's rating everything a 10. So even if you hate the movie, it's a 5 or a 6. No, if you hate the movie, it's a 2 or a 1. If you're it's a 5 or a 6 or something. But it's
what? I gave it a 2. Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
See, it's a pretty bad movie.
There you go. It's possible.
Right.
I'm not sure if I've ever given a 1, but I gave a 2. That's probably my lowest rating. I don't know why I'm being stupid. I can actually go through my ratings list and just go to the 2s, and then I can see what I've rated that low. But in any case, we're being sidetracked here.
That doesn't sound like good radio.
So spoiler. So to the spoilers we go.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, Jason, what were the parts that you felt he was going for but didn't completely succeed?
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain this very well, but like I said, that in my opinion, that's kind of what I felt like he was going for, what I mentioned earlier. I feel like it's a statement about violence and our society and how we deal with it and don't deal with it and stuff like that. I would not call this, I would call this movie a failure, because I think if you're going to make a movie like that, you need to present the violence and you need to present everything and kind of just you need to create a movie that says something and then allows the audience to talk about it and come to some sort of conclusion. I don't feel that this movie does that. I think this movie kind of like hammers you over the head with its point, and I don't think there's any room for the audience to interpret anything or to think about it and try to come up with their thoughts on it or anything like that at all. I think that you could kind of take everything that's in this movie and do it a little differently, and I think it's possible to come up with something very introspective and very thought-provoking and whatever. I think the stuff that kills it is how ridiculously pretentious a lot of it is. I do like that they were actively trying to subvert the expectations of like normal horror movie type stuff. I don't even know if the director would consider it a horror movie. You know, I mean, like from the way he kind of did stuff, it was almost like he was trying to make an anti-horror movie or something like that. But I don't know. Anyway, I think that okay, just to throw this out there, the violence. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'll just throw it out there. All the violence in this movie, the really, really terrible stuff happens off screen. And there are movies that do that very well. That Joaquin Phoenix movie very recently that came out.
You Were Never Really Here or something.
Something like that. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think it's like You Were Never Here or something like that.
You Never, yeah. Lynn Ramsey. The Lynn Ramsey movie.
Yeah, that's a movie that's very violent, but it doesn't spare you the violence. It just very, very creatively takes the most horrific moment and happens to do it with something in the way or just off screen, or uses the editing to kind of, it actually doesn't soften the blow. It manages to do something to make it less gratuitous and more, I don't know, provocative or something, more effective in some manner. It's hard to really grasp what that movie does. This movie, I don't think achieved that. I think this movie, yes, it doesn't literally, big spoilers here, doesn't literally show the child's head getting blown off, but it's like, let me describe what I felt with this. Like, one of my favorite things about the stuff leading up to that scene, families being tortured psychologically, mostly, not physically, in the living room. Peter, the more dominant of the two crazy guys, is like, oh, it's my turn to go get food. And he goes into the kitchen and he starts making a sandwich. Meanwhile, the other guy is kind of playing a different words, but like I would assume it's like a German version of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, to decide who he's going to shoot or something. And in the sound that's going on, you can hear a scuffle happen or something like that. The gun blast goes off, and it's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because the Peter character doesn't even seem to react to it. Like, he is so not concerned. And I was thinking, like, holy shit, did they get the gun from the guy? Or it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like there's still something crazy going on over there, whatever. It's like he doesn't even care. He's just putting his sandwich together. He didn't even stop getting his food ready. Then he walks into the other room and you see the aftermath of what's going on. And that's when you don't even see that really. You see the TV with some blood on it and like whatever. Like, that's the kind of shit that I don't think works. It's kind of like he's showing so little that there's moments of confusion because you don't know exactly what happened. And then there's moments of confusion as to what their motivations are based on the way they're acting. And there's little to no, I don't know. I almost want to say satisfaction, but that sounds kind of sadistic to say that. But like, if you're good, like what Matt was saying earlier, if you're going to make a movie about something with a statement about something, you almost need to show it. And this movie is making a point not to show it. And I think that if you're going to try to make that point, you kind of need to show more than it did. I don't think it's effective in that sense. It's more frustrating than it is effective at making its point. So all that stuff really bothered me. And then of course you follow that scene up, and it's like he's got a fucking 10-minute like static shot following that, and it is so not Norman Bates cleaning up the mess in Psycho. It's not there to like pad your emotions or to help you through something. It's not there. I don't know, maybe it was trying to make a point. I was just like, let's get on with this already. Either kill them or do something or say something about this damn movie. This is just going nowhere. And I mean,
You're talking about what happened after the
oh,
TV,
sorry, that's after they
like
left.
bloody
Yeah,
after they
yeah.
left.
There's a 10-minute
After
shot. Yeah.
oh the 10-minute shot of they're like scanning the room, that they're
Yeah.
showing the aftermath.
Oh no, not that. Well, it might actually be the same shot. I'm not sure. But
No, the bloody
after they leave.
TV, and
Oh,
then you see the kid with the head blown off, like, but
Yeah.
it's in a wide shot
Wide,
because
yeah.
he doesn't want to make it
Wide.
too graphic, and the you see that the wife is in shock, so
Yes.
she basically doesn't move for like a period of like, it almost looks like a freeze frame for a while until she starts
It does.
moving, and then
It does look
slowly
like
but
that. Yeah.
surely she starts moving.
Yeah. And
To
I
me,
think
that
there's
was like a really powerful shot.
I
But
think
again,
there's
I
a
think
way
we were
you
like
could
in a
tell all
different
that
like.
story. You could do it in close-ups. You can do it. You could let the actors
No,
really.
no, you
Yes.
don't, because no, this is not filmmaking 101. If you don't want to glorify something, you keep it at a distance or you don't show it. That's the whole thing. The main
He
thing
made
that I don't understand is this movie is not about violence. That's not what the movie is about. The movie is about subversion, what's the word?
subverting
Subverting expectations.
of
It's
violence.
actually not violence. No, life. It's about life. It's about also movie making. It's about storytelling and life. It's about subverting your expectations. It's from the get-go. This movie, it has violence in it, but it's a device to tell a story about expectations. I don't think it's per se exploring violence and violence in the culture and this is what we like. I got none of that from it. And I'm not sure, this is why I'm asking these questions, because I'm trying to see at what point in the movie it got triggered in you that that's what the movie is about, because I really don't see it. Like I don't see what everything in the movie hints to me.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
try to
but
answer.
go ahead.
Okay. So I agree with you that it is about subverting expectations, but you can make a movie about subverting expectations with any plot. This is a movie about subverting expectations with two psycho killers torturing a family all night long. And it is a movie, and you want to know where the point is, where it starts getting like where we feel like the director is toying with you and not actually, all right. It's the bullshit third wall or fourth wall breaks. It's the bullshit talking to the audience.
Yeah.
It's the bullshit remote control thing. Like, that's not subverting expectations. That's masturbation. That's bullshit. Like, you can make a movie like this for one thing, if it's not also about violence, if it's not subverting our expectations about all that stuff and directly relating to violence, you can make this about about a sports team and how there's filmmaking tropes of all sorts of genres that we have complete expectations about. He decided to make it about psycho killers coming in and torturing a family. There's definitely some intention there behind it. It definitely has something to do with violence. Now, we can obviously discuss about how much of that was necessary or what was it intended and not intended or whatever, but the fact that it's so self-aware and that self-awareness isn't helping, it's not doing like in Deadpool, it's helping the comedy, it's helping the character, it's helping us as the audience enjoy the movie. This is not helping his point. You can make this movie and make it about subverting expectations. You can make it about violence or make it about anything else, whatever. You can kind of do the things he was trying to do and make a movie that's not like sluggishly paced and difficult to watch. You could make it a little more accessible and a little more like definitely not enjoyable, but clear, and also just like I don't know, Matt was kind of getting at the whole the disgusting nature of this, like the character, just like toying around with you as the audience with the, I don't know, I'm kind of going in a circle here, but I think that stuff, the fourth wall breaks and the remote control.
Yeah. So the fourth wall, I was going to respond to that
bullshit.
quickly.
That's what I think.
I do agree. I do agree that was the riskiest device that he used, was the fourth wall. When the first time he broke the fourth wall, I was like, no, we're not going there. Please don't tell me we're going there. And it pissed me off the first time. Like most things in this movie pissed me off until I understood what it was doing, and then I appreciated it. And I realized that there is really no other way to do that unless you use that device. And the rewinding of time, again, I was like, oh, no, that can't happen here. But then you're like, no, but this is what the movie is about. And there's really no other way to and it starts from the beginning. What happens in the beginning? And this explains why it's about violence and why it can't be. Basically, everything about this movie, if you think about it, it had to be the way it had to be. It told itself based on what the premise was. How does the movie start? It's a family going to a holiday, a recreational holiday in a serene lake, right? Which is what most people like. What's the most calm thing that humans do is leisure time and a vacation home. It doesn't get more serene than that, and that's what most people would choose to do if they could have the freedom to do that. And what's the worst thing that can happen to a human being? Being tortured and killed. So that's the movie. It cannot be told any other way. If you're trying to juxtapose the best thing that can happen to humans and the worst thing that can happen to humans, this is what you have to work with. These are the two situations you have to work with. And he shows that in the movie. He explains it in the first scene. They're in a car, and what are they doing? They're playing funny games with listening to classical music, the most serene, calm music in the world. And what happens when the credits start rolling? It's death metal.
Yeah.
That's the movie. That's what the movie, it's juxtaposing the best case scenario with the worst case scenario. So this is the only way for the movie to happen. And then throughout the movie, what happens? The first trick that I thought was really cool, that really just blew my mind, was when the kid runs away and goes to the neighbor's house, and then you realize, oh my God, they're dead. Like they're not their friends. And I didn't get this at first. And I was like, and then I remember the first scene where the wife says like, hey, she didn't wave to us. And then I remember the guy, the neighbor, coming with Pete Sampras to when he comes through the gate, and he doesn't speak. He doesn't talk very freely. And then I'm thinking about the scene on the lake with the wife and Pete Sampras meeting their third, the future victims. I'm like, oh my God, this is great stuff. Like the fact that he planted those seeds, but I didn't catch them right away. But then once the kid saw that the house was empty and nobody can save him, you realize that, I mean, they're essentially serial killers. And the one sin that this movie made is that once that happened halfway through the movie, I kind of knew that the way the movie was going to end is that they're going to go to this third victims. That part I kind of knew. I just didn't know how it was going to end with the family. And then when he started doing the whole fourth wall, it pissed me off, but I was with it because I already saw some good stuff. So I was like, so what is this? Like, why is he doing that? And then I try to understand, okay, so this is a movie. he's making you aware that it's a movie. He wants you to be aware that this is a movie and what happens in movies. And that's where the rewind comes in. In a movie, if it's not a tragedy, usually what happens is like at the last second, like close to the end, something happens and the protagonist somehow pulls it off and is able to kill the bad guy. And that's what happens there. And then he says like, oh, no, 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 no. And he's already told you, I'm in control, because I was speaking to the audience. I'm in control. So he gets the remote control, he rewinds it, and he has it happen his way. The point there is he's juxtaposing, he's making you realize like, oh, wait, Mr. Audience, fuck you. You're not in a movie. You're in real life. Like what this movie is real life. In real life, this family would have zero chance of survival. They would be brutally killed. But I wanted to show you that what movies show you is that there's always a chance. It's in the last moment. She'll grab the gun. She'll kill one of them, and something will happen. But you don't get that. Like, but I want to show you that that's a possibility, only to rewind it and to remind you that what I was doing here is that I'm showing you real life juxtaposed with like the movie world with the movie life. So that's all the stuff that was happening there, and it's good stuff. Whether or not it's an enjoyable movie to sit and watch, it's not. It's not super enjoyable. But the fact that he makes this larger statement about all this juxtaposition of bad with the good, movie reality versus actual reality, it's how many movies do that? That's sophisticated filmmaking. That's I'm glad I saw it for that reason. I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise. This is why we do this show, because we can find these things, and it's like, oh my god, I would have never like watched this movie if it wasn't, because all I heard is from Matt is just shit, it's shit, and I was like, I don't have like some sort of like, let me just watch all the movies that Matt doesn't like just so I can like them and explain why I like them. No, it's just that I saw these things and they spoke to me, and I kind of got them, and I thought it was really impressive. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's really sophisticated filmmaking. Whether it's successful, I guess we're going back to the whole way this show started is Tenet. Whether it's actually enjoyable moment to moment, maybe it's not. But do I appreciate it? Am I glad this movie was made? Is this the reason why it's on the Criterion Collection? Probably.
I just think I agree with you about a lot of the things you said. Maybe it's because I obviously read the synopsis and it says, two or a family of three goes on vacation and then is terrorized by in their own home by two crazy guys or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it's worded. I don't know. Maybe this is because perhaps I watch more horror movies than you do or something. I don't know. But in the opening scene, when the husband and wife are looking out the window and they say, who were those two young guys and why were they acting weird? I immediately at that moment was like, shit, the neighbors are fucked. The neighbors are getting tortured. And next they're going to be at their house. Then they did get to their house. And the moment you see, it's not Peter. What's the real crazy guy's name?
The lead psychopath is Paul. And by the way, Gil, the guy that you keep calling Pete Sampras, his character's name is Peter. So,
wait.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought it was the other way around. But anyway, whatever.
Wait.
The one who gets the eggs, the one he keeps calling Tubby. That dude.
Tubby is Peter. Paul.
Oh no, but so Paul is Pete Sampras.
Yeah, Paul is like Pete Sampras. He does look like Pete Sampras. He does. But the Tubby guy, the second he's sitting there, God, that guy's acting is great. Or maybe it's just his face. I don't know. But like the moment he's at the screen door trying to talk to the wife about getting eggs, I was like, that dude is deranged. That guy's like, oof. And it's the gloves. I think it's the gloves. Great choice when it comes to the whole costume department. All I was getting at is that I get all the stuff you were saying, Gil. I still think that there's a way to take everything in this movie and make it substantially better without any of that fourth wall breaks, without the remote control scene, without any of that shit. I actually think, especially when it comes to subverting expectations, the setup of the knife on the boat, which was so obvious, and then them not only not being duped by it, or not her being unsuccessful at the end, that's only part of it. The fact that they're mid conversation and they decide, we're done with this, let's move on, and they just kill her very unceremoniously. The camera doesn't even cut to her point of view while she's dying. So like, that's definitely subverting expectations, and that was very clever and smart. I just think you can do this movie without the bullshit. I think that stuff dragged the movie down. And it's not just that, it's a lot of the stuff in this movie I found very pretentious and unnecessarily so. Like, I think
It's
you could make
risky
the movie without it.
devices, but show me that movie. If somebody can make that movie, that's great. But until then, this is unfortunately the best version of that kind of movie that is available. I'm not denying that a better movie could be made about the same theme. I mean, a lot of movies repeat the same theme, but I've
let me
never seen a
rephrase.
movie like this.
Let me
So-
rephrase. I think, regardless of somebody else could make a better movie, I think this movie would be far superior to itself without that shit. I'm saying
that's
that
the
shit
thing. I'm not sure.
dragged
So
it
what would you have
down into
done?
the mud. I would do
But
it. I could make this
but if he
movie
doesn't
with the
talk to the
same
camera,
footage without
eh,
that, and it still makes the point.
no, but if he doesn't talk to the camera, he can't rewind the tape, and if he doesn't rewind the tape, he
You still
can't
have
make
all
the.
the subverting expectations. You still have all of it.
But he was trying to make the point about the reason why this movie is so depressing and difficult to watch. And by the way, the reason why it's tough to watch is because it's another thing like Tenet and Memento, and he's trying to put you in the shoes of the family. Like he
Right.
wants you to
Yeah, of
suffer
course.
through the movie so you feel what
Yeah.
the family is going through in a way to relate to them. But I think that you don't get that. You can't. In that case, there's no catharsis to the movie. The catharsis of the movie is that you don't get the catharsis, that you had it. It was close. But because it's not that kind of movie, it had to have this alternative ending type of thing. Is like it shows you, oh yeah, could have gone this way if this was a movie, but we're presenting to you real life, and real life sucks. It's horrible. It's suffering. That's basically what the movie is saying, and I don't think you can do that without the rewind. And I don't think that without breaking the fourth wall, the rewind would be even stupider. I'm not denying that
I
it's
agree.
not.
Yeah. Well, of course,
Yeah,
you can't do one without the other. That's for sure. Oh, well, I mean, if you did, it would be very bad.
because he has to
Um,
establish that, hey, look, we're in a movie. I'm talking to the audience. Therefore, if I grab the remote, it's plausible that I can do this.
yeah.
Otherwise, it
No,
doesn't work.
I was just gonna say though, like, I don't have any examples of other movies that have attempted to tell this story. So not that, but specifically with the idea of what you're talking about of, so you're saying, movies do this, especially horror movies do this, where you got this situation, it's terrible, but then somehow they manage to pull out something at the end, blah 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 blah. But the thing is, there are a lot of horror movies that end without the final girl making it. She doesn't always survive. And a lot of times there are really, like, there's a lot of horror movies out there that I don't know, this would be a better thing to talk about with somebody who's seen hundreds and hundreds of horror movies. I like horror movies, but I'm not like an aficionado or anything. But I think a lot of movies I've seen actually end where it's just ends on a tragic, like, oh, the bad guys managed to kill everybody and nobody got away and blah 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 blah. And a lot of times they're not great movies, but it's been done. It's been done a lot actually. And I don't think any of them well, maybe some of them were trying to make a statement like this, that like this is real and this is what real life is like and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think for me, I just don't think it really works. I mean, I thought the scene at the end was clever, I don't think I felt any catharsis at all.
No, not during the scene. It's just that it explains. Yeah, this is like I said. It's the worst part of the movie is that it becomes obvious that once it's not completely obvious. Like a lot of movies, it has a diversion because he kind of says, "I'm hungry." Like that's why he kills her off because he's just hungry. He's tired of this family. He wants to move on, but he's not actually hungry for food. He's hungry for killing more people. But obviously there's food in people's kitchens. That's what they eat and stuff.
Sure.
But so it's hungry for both violence and for food. But yeah, it's the worst part of this movie is that it's midway through it. Once you realize what happened to the first family and how it was set up cleverly, then once they're done with the second family, there's going to be a third one. And that they're not getting away with it once he does the remote thing, because that was the catharsis. That was the non-catharsis. It was showing you like, yes, in a movie you're supposed to have a catharsis, but this is not a movie. Like, this is real life. It's a representation of real life, and it's depressing, but at least we're presenting it in a cinematic way and showing you the alternative options to just explain that this is not funny at all. Like, life is not funny. It's actually very depressing, but packaged this way, it illustrates that point. If you just have a horror movie where everybody dies and there's no point being made, obviously that's a bad movie. This is not a bad movie. It might not be an enjoyable movie, but it's not enjoyable for the right reasons. It's just that, again, if you can't enjoy a movie by appreciating what it's trying to do and having the moment to moment still be difficult, it's supposed to be difficult because you're trying to relate to this family as being tortured, then yes, so it's not that movie. It's not the movie for you. I'm okay watching a 2-hour movie where it's I probably wouldn't want to experience it again. It was a pain, but at the end of it, I felt like I had a very decent meal. Like, I really felt like, wow, I saw something. This was different. This was daring, and it wasn't a home run. I didn't rate it a 10, but boy, I mean, that's cool stuff. That's all I'm saying. But I agree, it's not an enjoyable watch. It's not supposed to be. That's it's not a Tarantino movie where the violence is spectacular. It's no, this is hard stuff. It's shitty, and it's a long take after the kid brains explode, and it's suffering because life is suffering. It's not the movie that you're looking for. It's not a horror movie with the suspense and the this and the that, and last minute they get the. No, it's not. This is real life, and it's horrible.
Well, I'm glad that I recommended a movie to you that you haven't seen that you like a lot more than I do. I don't think I've spoken in the last.
I was going to say we should let Matt go.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that me and Jason go at it, but it's good. It's good stuff.
But I mean, well, okay. To take Gil's side on a couple of these things.
My word.
So, all right, so Peter and Paul on that last scene on the boat with Anna before they unceremoniously, as you put it, just push her aside, kill her, all done. Leading up to that, I don't know if I'm remembering the remake better than I'm remembering the original, but I think the thrust of the conversation was the same, in that Peter was talking about like this conversation between reality and fiction.
I was reading into that. I was just kind of ignoring it though. Go on.
And Paul just has some kind of a line in like, well, then the fiction is reality too. And Peter is, well, what really are you saying? Well, you're seeing the screen just as well as you're seeing me right in front of you, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty clever. I do give the movie points for that. It's one of those things where you've got a movie, and I mean, I thought it was really weak up until that point, and then you'll watch that and like you've got a quick line or two, and they're trying to kind of sum up why the hell you just watched what you just watched. The problem is I don't buy it entirely, but maybe this is an issue more for me rather than where. Oh, also, by the way, to take Gil's side on this, I loved the long, methodical takes. I loved those. I mean, especially in the remake. That said, one of the things that bothers me, not only in this movie, but in a lot of movies, is I think that it's a really cheap trope to put a child in peril.
Okay.
Like that's just a really cheap way to get the audience to be like, oh shit, things are going wrong. Just don't hurt the kid. Just don't hurt the kid. It's kind of like, it's the same visceral reaction that we have when, a dog is in peril. And obviously they kill a dog in this movie too.
Yeah, very early on in the movie. Like they basically tell you early on is like, this is going to be fucked up because what do they say? Like in screenwriting, they tell you don't kill a dog because you lose the audience.
Right.
American gangster.
Josh Brolin killed 2 dogs in 2 movies in 1 year.
Oh yeah.
American Gangster and No Country for Old Men. But it's one of those things where, okay, you look at Newt from Aliens.
Yes.
And I still think that that's a little bit of the child in peril trope where, it's just kind of getting a cheap, visceral reaction out of the audience. You're like, oh, geez, it's this poor child, and there are these horrifying creatures, and, everything is just focused around the peril of this child. But I think it's handled with more elegance there. And I think that Funny Games had a missed opportunity there in if you're going to point a finger at the audience, which I really do think that this movie did with the breaking of the fourth wall. I think it comes with the breaking of the fourth wall, with the lead psychopath talking to the audience. Isn't that what you want? The story, the climax, so on and so forth. Don't you want this to play out?
He also says, don't you want it to be feature length?
Right. He's talking to us.
Which, funny enough, it's like an hour and a half when he says that. I'm like, we're exactly feature length.
Not to derail what Matt was saying, but I did look up IMDb trivia. They said it's at exactly 95 minutes.
Yeah, with the lead, with Paul looking directly at us, with that breaking of the fourth wall, with that finger being pointed at the audience. I think that's where it crossed the line for me, first and foremost, in that I already understand that it's just kind of a cheap suspense trope to have a child in peril. I already get it. I think most people at some kind of a gut level, if not an intellectual level, get it. And now you are subjecting this child to torture, like unspeakable psychological and physical torture. And yeah, they do cut away when he finally gets his head blown off. Kudos to the filmmaker for not making us watch that.
No, I mean, he doesn't make us watch her getting naked, too. I mean, he purposefully avoids that because it's not about violence. Like, it's not about showing off the violence.
No, but I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about peril. Those are two different things.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And he definitely, I mean, like, you hear the kid squealing. You know that he's in pain. You know that he's in agonizing pain while he's got the pillowcase draped over his head. You don't see what he's doing to the kid precisely. You just know that the kid's in agonizing pain. And, I mean, again, maybe this is just a visceral thing. Maybe I need to start firing up my brain a bit more the next time I watch this, if I ever watch this again. But
You probably don't need to.
but I didn't feel anything other than disgust. Not at the people torturing the child, but at the filmmaker. And the thing is, we can buy into this whole subversion thing. Well, this is all supposed to be a subversive, caricature of how we view, the good and the bad in life, but through the lens of cinema. And this is why he's pushing rewind on the remote and everything like that. Even through that lens, it's just something where I just don't understand what the hell he's trying to tell me by subjecting me to this. Especially, well, actually, I think I do know what he's trying to tell me. Again, like I said earlier, that you're a sick son of a bitch if you do like it, and you're a sick son of a bitch if you don't like it. So
I'm trying to understand though, because just before I even forget to ask, you said that the moment that you thought the finger was pointed at you is when he breaks the fourth wall and says, "Don't you want to get to the conclusion?" How is that pointing the finger at you?
I mean, I thought it was kind of clear. I mean, well, don't you want this, huh?
No, not don't you want more violence is obviously this is insufferable images to watch. You want to get to the end of it. That's what it's saying. It's not saying don't you like this violence. There's nothing in the dialogue that says that.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say don't you want more violence. You're saying don't you want this to draw out, but I mean, don't you want this to
reach a conclusion to
but that wasn't the only time that he broke the fourth wall.
What did he say in the other times? I'm just trying to understand, because to me he said, don't you want to get to the conclusion? Because obviously the audience wants to get to a catharsis. It wants to get to the end. It wants the protagonist to overcome the challenges. That's the expectation that is never met. But that's what he's breaking the fourth wall about. He's not saying like, you sick motherfucker, you're liking this. Like, you want me to rape her in front of you too? You're going to love this shit. No, there's nothing in what he says is suggesting that. It's just saying that you want to get to the end of it because this is it really sucks. Like, it's not enjoyable to watch, but we're spending this time together for a reason, to make a point that suffering sucks, violence sucks. There's nothing glorified about any of this. But through the power of movies, you get to experience this for 2 hours and then hopefully never revisit it again. It's actually kind of crazy to me that you did watch both versions, because I see no reason to watch both, except for like maybe the cinematography differences. But yeah, that's what it's doing there. There's nothing there about pointing the finger. And by the way, I don't think you're wrong. I've seen reviews where critics have had the same impression. So I don't think that you're wrong to. I just don't see why that was taken that way by some people.
Well, I mean, I'm generally in favor of the Al Pacino playing Vincent Hanna in Heat. I say what I mean and I mean what I say, but breaking the fourth wall, you're kind of thinking soliloquy. But if that's your goal, like, actions still speak louder than words. We're watching this person like eviscerating 3 people, just torturing them for the hell out of it, and turning to us and saying, oh well, you want this to come to a certain, there's this thing called subtext. And I think there's a certain subtext to those little soliloquies that maybe I'm seeing. Maybe it doesn't exist, but I'm just not taking it at face value coming from a psychopathic murderer.
I think the idea that he winks at the audience with the thing with the dog and then he says those few lines, it's that he wants us to feel captive as well. Like he puts the bad guy in control, not in the same way that, say, Alex in Clockwork Orange talks to the audience. That is more in relating to the suffering of a horrible teenager. But in this, he is not sympathetic in any way. He is a horrible psychopathic serial killer, but by being in control, like by being in touch with the audience, by being able to remote control, rewind it, we're trapped just like the family. That's the only point that any of those moments make. They don't say anything about the audience being sick, about violence being disgusting in our society. None of that is I didn't read into anything like that there. All that I understood is like, oh fuck, he's in control. Like he's in complete control. He's the only one that can speak to the audience. He can rewind the tape. We're fucked. We're fucked, and this family's fucked, and the family after that is fucked. But that's all I read there as far as what the device was doing. But again, like I said, I saw a critic reacting the way that you did. So it's not that there was something there that made it. And I guess I'm just not buying it because I saw it completely differently. It's exactly what it was supposed to be doing. And I think Jason's explanation, I accept more, that it's just was a shitty device and maybe you could have used a different device that's less polarizing.
Let me give you an example. I think that in plenty of movies they manage to communicate what you're saying, and even in this movie, there are moments like when, for instance, when they're not using any of those devices. There's moments when they have taped up the hands and feet of the wife, and when the chubby guy goes to the kitchen, he's talking and he's saying stuff, so we know without seeing him that he's preoccupied, and they don't cut away, so that you get this tension that starts building and building as she hops over to the very, very injured husband who starts biting at the tape trying to get her free, and it gets closer and closer and closer to her getting away, and we as an audience think that she's about to gain some level of control, but he comes back and just with he doesn't get mad. He doesn't do any of the things we would expect him to do. He just goes, "Why are you doing this? You're going to make me hurt you again." Oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's like the whole scene as the audience, you feel like, oh, you feel so let down, like, oh man, whatever. That is an example of that working. On the boat, when they at the end where we've all agreed is really clever, where it's like she's got the knife, she starts doing the thing. It's even more clever because they're having this existential conversation that kind of relates to the movie and blah, blah, blah. What do? Do they look at the camera? Do they do the remote control thing? No. He notices her. He says, "Hey, go stop that and be careful because you can't swim," which is another moment of us thinking maybe she's going to push him off and then it's going to be a one-on-one thing. No, it's so good at what it does because none of that happens. And they just, as we said before, unceremoniously kill her. And then the movie moves on. And that's kind of like the whole point and all this stuff. You could make the whole movie that way. You don't need any of the bullshit. And that's my problem with the movie. Because of all that, and on top of the rest of the way he made the other scenes of the movie, I think what could have been very clever is really pretentious. And it just killed the movie for me.
So I guess, and we can try to like wrap this up here, but we still haven't solved the dilemma. How do you make the point that this is a statement about storytelling, about movie versus reality? If you remove the devices and all you do is she's almost got it. No, they're in control. She almost got it. They're in control. That's a frustrating movie with no point.
It's just a pretty frustrating movie that you have to really dig to get to a point.
And I dug it. But that's the thing. But without those devices, all I'm left with is it's got some nice tricks there, like the whole thing setting up the first family that we didn't know that they were kidnapped as well, but we find out later on that that's what was going on, and they're serial killers basically. Aside from that, if you don't use those devices, then it's really just one tone. They're always in control.
To
They
answer
almost
your
lose
question,
control, but they don't.
yeah,
She never gets the
how
gun.
to
She
do
never
it,
kills one of
you
them.
use dialogue. That's how you do it. Like the way they did in the last scene.
In the end, but
You're
again,
using dialogue between characters, and in doing so, you're communicating to the audience what you're trying to say without actually just speaking directly to them.
I'm going to take Gil's side on this one.
Okay.
I mean, just fundamentals. If you can show it, you never say it. But
them staring at the screen is saying it. It's just another way of saying it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I don't like the
no,
the
but also the last thing, the existential discussion about story versus reality. Where's the story part? Because or where's the reality part? Because if all we see is the movie and the fourth wall is never broken, the movie is never rewind. So you're never going to this postmodern thing of we're in a movie. Then that point is not. It can't come across because it was never established that we're in a movie. As far as we're concerned, it's the reality of the world that was created. And if they're talking about story versus not, the only way that would work is if they wink at the audience in the end. They break the fourth wall in the end somehow.
The movie Scream is not just a horror movie, but it's also it's in its own right, it's a great horror movie, but it's also a deconstruction of slasher films. It's a commentary on slasher films. The two villains never break the fourth wall. They never do all that stuff, but they introduce them as the kind of characters they are. By the third act, they are talking about movies and giving you basically what the deeper meaning behind this movie is without doing any of that stuff. They are both showing and telling, and they're doing it in a clever way. That is how you make this movie. You do stuff like what's in the last scene on the boat. You do more of that. You change the kind of characters that the two guys were so that it gives you a plausible reason why they're talking about certain things throughout the movie, and you manage to make a good movie out of it. I don't think that you need any of the Deadpool bullshit that works so well in Deadpool, but not so well in this.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of it was a polarizing device. I felt like it was necessary to make the point, but you feel like it wasn't. And I'll give an example. I think The Shining is a good example of a movie that felt like it was almost about movie making in a way. It was making you aware that you're watching a movie, but it didn't break the fourth wall. There's a few moments where Jack Nicholson looks at the camera, but then you realize he's looking at another character. But yes, that's a movie that is, and there might be some other examples that maybe that's easier to find examples of movies that make you aware that you're watching a movie, but they don't break the fourth wall. It's just tougher to do, and I feel like he just wanted to go out there and kind of go nuts and really do something daring, and the result is that half the people hated it and thought it was hokey, and the other half was like, that's amazing. I've never seen that in a movie, and done for the right reason, as far as at least the perception of it. But yeah, because like I said, Woody Allen does it for laughs, and I mean, I think Clockwork Orange, he looks at the camera, I think too. It's
I think there's plenty of reasons to do that in movies. I just don't think that this would work for me. I definitely think that you've said some things in this last hour or whatever that we've been talking about that I didn't think about, and it's definitely making me feel a little more favorable about the movie. But overall, it just didn't really work for me. I will say this: this doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just feel like it's worth mentioning because we're talking about this movie and everything. Today's what, Thursday? So yeah, yesterday I got home from work and was tired, and I started watching this movie, and I knew I was tired, and I was like, all right, I got to give this movie a fair shot. So I went and made popcorn. I got a soda. I made sure I was comfortable, but not too comfortable. I started watching the movie. I'm like, I know there's subtitles, so I got to make sure I'm awake for this. And I fell asleep. I totally fell asleep in the movie. And I woke up and I was like, what the hell's going on? I don't understand. So I stopped and I just went to bed. And then today, when I got home, I was much more awake, and I was like, I rewound all the way back to before I knew I fell asleep, and I started it like again at about the 35 to 40 minute mark, and watched the whole movie again. And I honestly was like, this movie's got a lot of the same problems as like 2001. It's like it's very, very slow and boring. And there's plenty of movies that I love that are slow and meticulous and have static shots and unbroken shots and long oneers that are not, dynamic oneers and stuff like that. And I don't know, just in general, I just don't think I really dug the movie that much.
Yeah, no, and there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong. It's usually there's a reason, and what I said about Matt too, that he wasn't the only one that had that reaction. So it's not as if there's something personal that he took from his own psyche to make that happen. There's something about that just in some people had that reaction. But yeah, I guess that's what's cool about movies, that the polarizing ones can really, yeah, and like you said, especially if you don't, if you're not on the like we said with Tenant, like if you're not getting on the thing, like of what the movie is going for on board, then every scene is just more and more torture. It's more and more frustration. So it's yeah, and I really wanted to dislike this movie. So better luck next time. Maybe Matt can bring some other suggestions. Speaking of which, one last thing I'll say about ratings is that I did check it, and Mortal Kombat is the lowest rated movie I've ever rated, and it was a 2.
Wow.
So
okay,
Cool.
I have not seen any of
Annihilation.
other movies. Oh, of course, Annihilation.
Annihilation, yeah, not the original one's pretty good. Yeah.
No, the original one's horrendously bad, but it's
but it's still a good
Kane
movie
compared to the second one.
Yeah.
Matt, I know you said you've seen some. I don't know, Gil, if you've seen it. I have not seen any of this guy's other movies. Where would you guys place this on compared to his other films?
I mean, I've only seen Amor, The White Ribbon, and Cachet, so
four times as much as me.
Like distant fourth. So yeah.
Okay.
But
well, I'll say this. I mean, be happy, Jason, because I watched Amor and I fell asleep. So and a lot of people love that movie, and I should watch it again. But yeah, it was just love? Yeah, I guess so. It's about Alzheimer's, but yeah, no, it's very, very slow and has no violence in it, I believe. so yeah, maybe that's a statement about Funny Games, that the violence keeps you up. No, but I would have fell asleep in Funny Games too if I was watching it late at night or something. So
I was just tired from work.
Yeah, but it's a very slow movie. But someday I should give it a chance because that one is like, I think it won the Palme d'Or or something. It's so I guess there's something there. I just need to really be alert when I watch it next time.
Matt, where did you place his other 3 films? Like, what's his best one you've seen?
Probably The White Ribbon, but
okay,
yeah.
So he does make okay movies. It's just that Funny Games is.
Yeah, and again, it just kind of flabbergasted me that not only did he make a movie that I hated, but he made it twice.
Yeah,
and didn't change anything.
There's something to. I mean, that might be another talk that we can do sometimes. Is polarizing movies. It's what is it about them that the ones that just kind of go one way or the other? There's no in between. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys something real quick. Again, I don't know, Gil, how many of his films you've seen, but this just stood out to me about 5 minutes or so before we jumped on. I wanted to glance at a couple of reviews just to see what the overall take was. I was really surprised that the audience review on this thing was so high, but then again, now that we've discussed it, I can kind of see why. But I wanted to ask you guys, because this one stood out to me, really jumped out. It's a guy named Ed Gonzalez for Slant Magazine said this, and I was just, this is like something that speaks about his other films. So I don't know, because I've never seen any of his other films. But he's talking about the director's work himself. Haneke, is that his name, right? we said it earlier. I can't remember if I'm saying that right, but it said his
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. Sorry,
Like
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah,
I think it's Hanukkah.
like the holiday.
Yeah, like the holiday. Yeah,
No,
Hanukkah's. He just said that his movies. He says his Hanukkah's snooty admonishments are disturbing because they're never self-critical. And I'm wondering, do his other movies have these like? Would you say that his other movies have as much of a direct message that this one does? Because that when I read that, I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, does this guy have like a history of making these like really statement like movies?" You know?
I didn't really see that with Amore. I mean, Gil can chime in, but
It seems like Amore was more like David Lynch doing Straight Story or Elephant Man. More straight story, but just basically doing like a straight drama with just a good attention to details and character, but not really going nuts, you know. Yeah, one thing I was gonna say, I forgot. It's amazing I didn't say this earlier, but one thing when I was watching the movie and I was thinking of ways that I would relate this to other movies, is what frustrated me early on about this movie is we've seen examples of families being attacked, and there's like Straw Dogs as an
Yes.
example of a movie where that's the movie. That's the movie of funny games. What happens when you push an average person to the limit? He pushes back. That's what that movie is about. This is the movie where the pushback never happens because it's not a movie. So in a way, initially I thought I was going to use that as an example of a movie that did it better. The idea of being attacked violently and having to defend yourself. But then by the end of it, I realized that like, oh, this movie it's not better than Straw Dogs. Straw Dogs is a more enjoyable movie to watch.
Yeah, Straw Dogs
It's
is
got
really good.
it's got catharsis, but it's actually making a more sophisticated point about the human psyche just because it kind of skirts both. It shows you like, yeah, you've already seen Straw Dogs. I'm showing you what it would be if it wasn't a movie, type of thing. But yeah, Straw Dogs I felt like is a good that would be a good like double feature maybe
It would be.
at the New Beverly or something.
It'd be great.
That's a horrible like double feature.
It'd be great if I had never seen this one. This would be a great thing to see in theaters after having seen, or no, right before having seen Straw Dogs.
Yeah.